Welcome to Retirement on the Lifestyle Farm. I'm Marcus. Would you believe it's been 13 years since I retired? The old timers always talk about how time flies, and I guess it has. For this discussion, we want to discuss a few things about when and how to retire, whatever. My wife and I began our retirement discussion several years before we actually retired. And we wanted to share some of that with you, some of what we went through for decisions. That'll tell you how we ended up here on a little small acreage in northeast Texas. We've got cows, we've got chickens, we've got a garden. We've been working with a fruit orchard. We've even got a pecan orchard that we started before we retired. And we're living in a home that I built here on our lifestyle farm. Well, I've stayed busy, but let's look at some of the decisions that we had to make. We'll pick out 3 of them, but there's several that you need to work with. Your important decisions need to begin with discussions and decisions with your mate, and sometimes maybe even family. I'll toss out a few old fogey advices along the way. Maybe they'll help somebody in their decisions of retirement, and they might not. But my encouragement is you need to have these discussions before you pull that retirement trigger. Our discussion started basically, let's look at 3 primary points that we discussed and decided upon. The first one was, do we stay or do we move? The other was, could we afford it? We don't have a big 401. We don't even have a 401. Little bit of savings. We had to make a decision. Could we afford it? Third, what did we want to do when we retired? What do you want to do when you retire? Well, let's just jump right into that first point. Stay or move. Our home was paid for. We love to hike. We love to fish the small streams, catch them little brookies, maybe a rainbow. We had a little samurai that we enjoyed, the back roads, maybe going over some of the 4-wheel drive passes. Just being out in the nature of the mountains. I like to hunt. We had friends there. But we had no family near there. We believe family is important. We agreed that we'd like to be closer to our family, not 16, 18 hours away. We could spend more time with them, maybe even get into a game or 2 of 42. Some of the family had already retired, so that would give us all time to spend together. We like to garden, but that's a struggle. Gardens need water. Southwest Colorado is a semi-arid area. Our home had no municipal water. We didn't have a well. Wasn't feasible to have a well. We had to haul all of our water. Keep the house running normal, we had to haul 2 to 3 loads a week. Even more if we wanted to water the little garden that we were struggling with. Back to the water situation. When we bought the house, we knew there was no water. We knew we'd have to haul it. And we accepted it as a permanent condition. But let me tell you, it got really old. When it's 5 or 10 below, for days on end, you still have to go haul some water if you're going to have water to wash your dishes or take a shower with. So we had to really consider that. You might need to consider moving to downsize to cut some of your housing expenses. Smaller home would take less insurance. Excuse me. Less maintenance. Or maybe you want to be closer to amenities. You might have to move to accomplish that. So my old fogey advice here is have some serious discussion, weigh the reasons to stay and reasons to move, and coming into agreement. You and your mate need to agree on these decisions. And moving on along to the second point for our retirement discussion is, could we afford to retire? Some things we considered. We had no mortgage. Our vehicles were paid for. What was our current insurance expense? Our taxes, our groceries, gasoline. We were 25 miles from town. So we had to evaluate our expenses. What would our retirement income look like? We both were able to draw Social Security. I had an employer retirement plan. One of the thoughts that came up was, should we continue to work? And if so, how long? If we continued to work, how much would it raise our Social Security? How much would my employer retirement plan increase? As I said, we had no 401s. We decided to continue to work. The increase would be inconsequential. I was a couple of months from being 65. My wife's a couple of years younger. So we thought about it, weighed it out, and our decision was, that's enough income. We can do it. We pulled that retirement trigger and we retired. What do you expect for your expenses after you retire? What will be your income sources? How much will they be? There will always be the unexpected expenses. Need to have a little bit of rainy day plan. Now, what is my old fogey advice? Biggest one is get out of debt. Consider downsizing. A smaller house means lower expenses. Fewer vehicles is lower expenses. Maybe selling them would put a little bit of money back into that savings. Stop those subscriptions. Do you pay for movies to watch on TV? Just tossing out ideas. Maybe you need to move to an area or consider moving to an area that has a lower cost of living. The main thing to come up with in the finance side is to be debt free. Well, you've hung in there this long. Let's get on with our third point. What do we want to do in our retirement? What did we want to do in our retirement? We decided we want to be closer to family, be able to spend more time with them. Our acreage we bought a few years before we retired is about halfway, or at least at that time was about halfway between our two mothers. It was about 2 hours from two of my sisters, about the same distance from my wife's family. We wanted to garden, and Northeast Texas is a much better environment for gardening than that dry, cold Southwest Colorado. I've always told people when I left the beautiful Colorado, one of the things was I wanted to pick that big, ripe, tasty tomato. I didn't want to be out there in my walker shoveling snow. And there's several lakes nearby. As we kind of wind down through here, what do you want? Do you want to sleep in? Maybe you're a golfer and you'd like to spend more time golfing. So you may want to take up quilting. You may have some quilt scraps that you've been saving over the years thinking someday I'll have time. Maybe you want to travel, go to Ireland. Or maybe you like to go on cruises. How does it all fit with your health and with your finances? Something to consider. Do you want to see the USA in your RV? Well, in conclusion, the old fogey says, take time making your plans. Be in agreement with your mate what them plans are. Establish priorities of what you want to do. And be prepared to make changes, because the changes are inevitable. Keep your health up. Remember, we're on a timeline. Life's sand is quickly falling out of the top of that hourglass. Look forward to your retirement. Have fun. Thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to your comments. If you've enjoyed this video, let's make YouTube happy. Reach out there and bang that like button. Consider sharing. Consider subscribing. Hope to see you all again here on Retired on Lifestyle Farm.